Yo, 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 yo. Welcome to Let's Talk Sports, y'all. We had to flip some things today, had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we are here. We are here. We are here. We are here. So, what's going on? What's going on? I get this boxing talks in. Let me get this thing out to all the places. Two, two, two. Yeah, that's what I needed to do. Had some technical difficulties, but we here now. We're gonna start out with the ladies because they had a big weekend this weekend, and had some things, shocking upset with Laney Daniels and Shadasia Green. Prayers going out to her, wishing her the best in her recovery. We do have some news. She did send a message out to tell people she had bleeding on her brain, but again, we hope for the best in her recovery. You know what I mean? But in the meantime, between time, let's get it in. Let's chop it up, man. Charlie, where y'all at? Boxing in DC, what up? What up? You know what I mean? And we're gonna start it off with the ladies, and then we're just gonna see, let's see where we go from there. You know what I mean? Boxing, let me see. It's been okay, I guess. It's been okay. You know what I mean? We haven't had that big event that we normally get throughout the years. And you get a couple of during the course of the year, but we haven't had that big event. Hopefully it's coming. And hopefully it involve one of my guys. You know what I mean? But we'll get into that. But over the weekend we had first fight, we had Shadasia Green versus Laney Daniels, which was a shocking, stunning upset. With Laney Daniels not only getting the upset victory, but actually getting the stoppage. And it's hard to tell what was really going on with Shadasia. It's hard to tell whether or not it was something before the fight, during the fight. We don't know. But what we did see was during the course of the fight, Laney Daniels was outworking her. Laney Daniels was, just able to back her up, and Laney Daniels was able to land the more clear, more effective shots, and eventually it led to what happened in the ninth round. But again, prayers out to Shadasia Green. I'm not gonna lie, she did send out a message today that says she dealing with bleeding on her brain. I don't know, exactly the ins and outs of that, and from the sounds of it, it may necessarily mean that she might even have to think about moving on to something else. Brain injuries, head injuries, we can't play with in the sport of boxing. But like I said, prayers going out to her, and of course, the fight that many people was anticipating, hoping that, once she got past Laney Daniels, she would eventually get to the Clarissa Shields fight. We now know that that's gone. That ship has sailed. That ship has sailed, and we'll see what goes on. But now to the other noise and bells and whistles in boxing, which was Alycia Baumgartner, and she was able to jump out there and she got the fight done. Some people are really some people are praising her performance. Some people are criticizing performance. I don't know. To me, I thought she looked good. I thought she clearly won. I thought the fight ended up being a lot more rougher and tougher than pretty much. She said she wanted them type of fights, but I don't think she wanted it to be that rough. But again, the fight got a little rough. The fight got a little bit of tough, but she was able to get the victory. But what she's getting a lot of backlash about, a lot of backlash is coming about the fact in her saying that, Kellen Dubois doesn't deserve a shot. Kellen Dubois is not good enough. She's a big fish, and Karen Dubois is the guppy and all that. And people have a problem with that because we can clearly see that stylistically and skill-wise, Carolyn is definitely on her level. You know what I mean? It's not a great big gap that where you say, well, she just don't got enough. She's a world champion. She's looking to be unified. So, I mean, it's a fight that could happen and should happen. Now, if she gets Amanda Serrano or Katie Taylor, I certainly doubt if she ever gets Katie Taylor. Katie Taylor is at the tail end. She's had some war. She's made her money. I don't know if we ever see Katie back in the ring, but I seriously doubt if she'll take a fight like Alycia. Now, being that Amanda Serrano and Alycia is on the same promotional company with his MVP Promotions and Jake Paul, they may very well end up lining it up. I don't know. They may end up lining up. They may not. But all I'm saying is right now you got a young lion that the fans are calling for. Because when you said Amanda and Katie Taylor in the arena that night and you in New York where Amanda's from, the fans booed. So it sounds like the fans want that Caroline Dubois fight, and you can even make an even much bigger bag if you do it overseas because Caroline, you know, that's one thing about boxing and pretty much most sports. The overseas people, their support is bar none. They will travel. They will come out. They don't care if you lose. They don't care how bad you look. They still support you to the end. So that crowd over there, that fan base over there is not going anywhere. So I think that, you know, you can't overlook and say, well, you can't make no money with Caroline Dubois. Because like I said, you can just go overseas and fight in front of 80,000 fans. You know what I mean? So she's definitely got to look into that, especially if Amanda says, you know what, she has other plans, which we got to wait till Amanda, she got a fight card coming up. We got to wait to see, you know, how she feels and whether or not she's going to. But the one thing that's setting a lot of people back and even turning me off is the whole, I'm the big fish, you a guppy, you got to get skin in the game, but you just fought somebody she just beat. Not coming for Alycia, it's just that you got to be consistent with what the things you say. You can't turn around and say somebody's not on your level, but then you fight somebody they beat. You know what I mean? We just can't have that. You know what I mean? And then a lot of people are upset with Clarissa. It's not our fault that the one opponent that y'all felt y'all wanted to have for her didn't win. That come with the sport. You know what I mean? She didn't win it. And I mean, I was hoping that Shadasia found a way to pull it out so we can get that Clarissa fight. But you know, like I said, prayers going out to her. But now we got to move on to we got to move on to different things. And hopefully that she's able to recover and maybe even rekindle her career. But right now, I don't know exactly how you come back from bleeding on the brain. That's the scary part. That's the scary part. Talk to me in the comment section. What y'all think about the fights this weekend? What y'all think about boxing so far this year? You know what I mean? What do you think? What fights do you want to see? You know, they say it's a potential Wilder AJ, a potential Fury AJ. All of these fights are cool fights. At this point, well, we got YouTubers fighting, we got content creators fighting, and so we can't really rule out. We can't look at no fight and say, well, this fight shouldn't happen. At this point, just get them in the ring and let's see what happens. Same thing with like now, people are losing their mind and they're saying Floyd is avoiding fighting Manny Pacquiao. That's where we at in today's time when we expecting a 50-year-old to come back in the ring. And if he says, I don't want to, I want it to be an exhibition, he's ducking at 50. He's almost 50 years old. Like, even if Pacquiao did beat him now, does it count? You're fighting a man that's knocking, like I said, he's knocking on the door to 50. And a fight you're talking about that happened, golly, when was that fight? 10 years ago. So you want a rematch from 10 years ago against a 50-year-old. I really don't want that fight to happen, merely on the fact that we don't need the circus. I want to focus on the fights that's out there now and the fighters that's coming up. And, I want to see that. I don't want to see 47-year-olds and 50-year-olds trying to rekindle a fight from 10 years ago and stealing the headlines from, the current fighters. You know what I mean? That's what we're looking for. But talk to me in the comment section. What y'all think about this weekend's fights? If you saw the women fighting, and what do you think? Like, what fights are you looking for in 2026? Or what fight would you like to see in 2026? You know what I mean? Because so far, I don't want to say 2026 has been underwhelming, but it's been underwhelming. You know what I mean? We haven't had the climax big fights or the great fights that we normally get thus far. But, it's early in the year. It's early in the year. Normally we get cooking by at least summertime. So hopefully we can get some quality bouts in the fights we want to see with the fighters we want to see. Starting with Alycia Baumgartner, you need to fight Caroline Dubois. It's that simple. To say she don't deserve it, she's a world champion. Once somebody become a world champion, nobody's off limits. Everybody within the reach or realm of the spectrum, once you become a world champion, they all You all, you know what I mean? There's no such thing. Oh, they got to do more work. No, they're world champion. Once they become a world champion, they should be able to fight another world champion or somebody that's considered to be elite. And there's no more, and you shouldn't have to protect the world champion at the same time. You should not have a world champion that says, "Oh no, I gotta earn my way up to fight another world champion." That's gibberish. You know what I mean? That's not what we do. That's not what we do in the sport of boxing. You know what I mean? Charlie, where you at? Well, talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me. I need to hear from you today. But in the comment section, talk to me. Who y'all want to see in the ring? What fights y'all want to see? You know, this boxing talk. Boxing to DC, talk to me. You know, I'm about to pull up the schedule so we can see. I know one fight everybody looking forward to is the Xander Zayas Boots Ennis fight, which I think is gonna be a real good fight. You know, a lot of people not giving Xander a shot, and you might be right. But I just think that one thing I didn't realize Xander was that big. Xander's a big guy. I didn't know Xander was that big. You know what I mean? I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't paying attention until I seen him up there with Boots, because Boots is a big welterweight, big 154 pounder. But I didn't. You know, I'm not used to seeing Boots and standing next to somebody and they're just as big as him. I'm not saying nothing about Boots. You know, I got nothing but love for Boots and definitely got love for Bozy. That's my guy. But still, I didn't know Xander was that big. So let's see what we got going on here. We got Inouye coming back May 2nd. Inouye coming back. Okay, we got Big Baby Miller fighting this on the 25th, 5 days from now. So he got Big Baby Miller fighting on, look like Thursday or Friday. Then we got a women's bout with Sky Nicholson and Mariah Turner. Then on May 2nd, we got Monster Inouye against Nagataki. That's a good fight. Monster Inouye starting to, and then also on May 2nd, you got the Mexican monster, David Benavidez against Zordo. And then hopefully after that, he'll go back down to 175 and he'll jump in the ring with Bivol, which is a fight I want to see. Then we got, the week after that, we got Fabio Wardley and Daniel Dubois. Now that's gonna be a tough one. That's gonna be a tough one. You got Big Baby Anderson on the undercard. That's gonna be a tough one. That's gonna be a tough one because Fabio Wardley, he's the guy that stopped Big Bang Zhang. Then May 16th, you got Keyshawn Davis against Nahir Albright. Now one thing for sure, you gotta give Albright his props, because last time he was in Norfolk, after the fight, after he beat Keyshawn brother, the guys tried to put hands on him and try to run down on him. So for him to go back to Norfolk to fight the guy that was out in the hallway trying to press him, that's gangster. Shout out to Wu. And and he looked good in his last fight against Frank Martin. And if it wasn't for some technicalities, looked like he may have been able to get Frank up out of there. Because Frank was coming off a big knockout victory over Bartholomew. You know what I mean? Then turn around in the 10th round, he was hurt. No getting around it. Brian Norman makes his return. Kelvin Davis, who Wu beat in that night that incident, he's also on the card. And then we got Herkovic on May 16th. Usyk fights his fight on May 23rd. Jack Catterall, Frank Sanchez, and Ricardo Torres. That's a good fight. Then we got the Man of Serrano card on May 30th with Stephanie Hahn and Holly Holm making their rematch. And then we got Dimitri Bivol making his comeback on May 30th. Then we got also, May 30th, deep. Then we got Oshagi Foster versus Raymond Ford on that night. Okay. All right. So the fight is set up. And then in the 140 division on June 6th, you got Dalton Smith versus Alberto Preo. Big time fight. Vargas versus Bam Bam Rodriguez. Xander Zayas versus Jerron Boots Ennis. And then they got it set up September 19th, Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao. I hope that fight don't happen. But Dalton Smith versus Alberto Preo, that's interesting. Very interesting fight. Alberto Preo, I believe he's coming off a controversial loss versus Matias. But then Dalton Smith turned around and knocked Matias out via fifth round knockout. So this fight with Preo, this should be a very, very interesting scrap. You know what I mean? Because Dalton Smith is a busy fighter, but he's like a boxer puncher, and we just want to see if is Preo going to be able to negate his Dalton Smith output and power in order to make it to into a way to outbox him and get the victory. That's going to be a really technically interesting fight. So that fight is set. Now we also got Richardson look like he's going to vacate his belt and go to 147, which leaves Shakur and Gary Antoine Russell as the only two available champions at 140. And I'm going to say it now. I want to see that fight. Y'all know why, but I definitely want to see that fight. Why put off nothing? Never. Shakur got another fight out there, Ryan or somebody at 147, that's different. But if they're both available at 140, Coach Ron, Coach Shakur, let's get it. Let's get it this summer. By no later than August or September, let's get that. Let's get that. And I think it'll be a dandy of a fight. We'll have a wonderful time, and let's go out there and make it happen. You know what I mean? Let's go out there and make it happen. But Alberto Preo versus Dalton Smith, that's an interesting fight. So they went on. He took the mandatory. He signed up. He made sure he was the mandatory for that fight. And he exercised his right to be the mandatory for Dalton Smith, and it's on and popping. WBC champion versus Alberto Preo. That's big time. That's big time. And then, Shaq gave Raymond Ford. Like I said, you gotta give it to those guys. You gotta give it to those guys. Two guys that's extending in the sport that had opportunity to come together, and they just said, "Hey, man, we're gonna do it." And that's what true champions and true fighters do. They didn't waste no time getting that fight done. It was like, "Hey, I want to fight you. Hey, I want to fight you," and they got it done. So shout out to Raymond Ford and Shaggy Foster. Shout out for them for making this fight happen. And, hopefully it's a great fight. You know what I mean? Yeah, what else we got? And then, we got Monster Inouye. Dimitri Bivol. He makes his return, defends his titles. And then hopefully after he fights his fight, him and David Benavidez can go ahead and, line it up and get that in. They can get that fight done, make it happen. And to me, like I said, I think Bivol can beat anybody. And as much as I love David Benavidez, I'm definitely going to pick Bivol to win that fight as well. Because I just think Bivol he has it. He has an answer for everything. Whether it's power, he know how to outbox the power. He know how to, impose himself on the boxer. Now, don't get me wrong. David Benavidez is a tall order because he's tough, he hit hard, and he throw punches and bunches. So that's a bad recipe for anybody to get along with. But I believe if anybody can figure it out, it's Dimitri Bivol. If anybody can solve the problem, if anybody can solve the puzzle, it's going to be Dimitri Bivol. If Dimitri Bivol can't figure it out, nobody can. Because like I said, he's found a way to, like I said, he's for punchers, he's for boxers, he's for in between, and he got it done. You know what I mean? And he's come through in glowing fashion in each one of these situations. So I'm going with Bivol when he fights Benavidez. But hey, man, you never know. You never know. Amanda Serrano, Cheyenne Hansen, Stephanie Hahn, Holly Holmes. Holly Holmes, like I said, she's definitely had her run in both boxing and MMA. She's been successful at both. We'll see what she got left. But that's gonna be a tall order. It's gonna be a tall order. Spoke on Keyshawn. Keyshawn doing a lot of content out there. Check it out. And all boxing fans, listen, if you're not on TikTok, get on TikTok. It's a very, very large boxing community on TikTok. And they doing lives. You can pop in, you can pop on the panels. They can put up as much as, as many as 10 people on the panel at a time. So yeah, shout out to the TikTok boxing world. Boxing the DC. Tap into that. Everybody tap into that TikTok world. And we over there. But yeah, tap into that TikTok world. It's definitely a new like I said, they got plenty of and people pop up. I mean, they just pull up. Like you never know, and it's former champions. They all I mean, it's a lot. The boxing community on TikTok is way more lit than I expected. I did not expect it to be that lit. You know what I mean? It's definitely lit over there. Matter of fact, I'm gonna tap in and see what they got going on TikTok right now. TikTok, of course, Twitter. They're a little bit rough, they're a little bit ratchet. But definitely TikTok got a whole world over there. Let me see what they got going on TikTok. See if they got any boxer talks going on. Nope. They done shut down the boxer talks for a little while on TikTok. But like I said, if you just wanted some good, honest, fresh boxer talks, TikTok got you, man. TikTok got it. TikTok got it. Like I said, you all hours of the night, all wee hours of the morning, all hours of the night. TikTok got a real nice, large boxing community. Like I said, they do panels up to 10 people at a time on the panel. Check it out. That's my plug. And of course, we be over there. If you have not done so, please like and subscribe to the Let's Talk Sports, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, IG. Everything is either Let's Talk Sports or AK the Apostle. And we, like I said, you know me. I started out just boxing, but then we branched into WNBA, NBA, and we about to be in the NFL too. So yeah, we're just gonna keep giving you more and more content. I still got so much content that I gotta release and get to y'all. You know what I mean? But we appreciate everyone that has took their time out. I see you. I appreciate the support. Appreciate y'all tapping in. Appreciate you sharing. And it don't cost you nothing. When we post something, whether it's a reel or not, just retag. You can repost it, retag it, something. Look out for us. You know what I mean? We'll look out for that because it's like I said, we got plenty of content coming your way. But to recap today's show, we started out talking about Shadasia Green and the upset loss she had to Alycia Daneils. We did get a report from the hospital stating that she has bleeding on her brain. And like I said, we pray for a speedy recovery. And I don't know exactly the dynamics of that. And it could be me personally, it sounds like something career ending, but it may not be. It may not be as major as I'm making it out to be, but it just didn't sound good. You know what I mean? But prayers going out to Shadasia Green. Hope her speedy recovery. Alycia Baumgartner was able to defend her title, but we have a lot of heartburn with where she want to go next. A lot of people want to see her in the ring with Carolyn Dubois, who she says is a guppy, but we think she's a big fish along with the fish. That didn't make sense, but y'all know what I mean. Then also, we're gonna hope and we gotta look out to see who may be the next person to challenge Clarissa Shields. We don't know who that is, and then we learned through the whole schedule of coming up. You got Monster in the Way coming up soon. You got Usyk coming up soon. You got Albright versus Keyshawn Davis back in Norfolk after the incident that happened in Norfolk. And then we got something. What fight? It's a fight that I seen that I was like, whoa. Let me go. Oh, you got Benavidez. He has a fight against Zordo. Bivol makes his comeback fight. But this was one big fight. Let me go back. It was one big fight that I knew that I thought was let me get that dang. Bang. What's the fight? Sketch out. Not Big Baby Miller, not Scott Nicholson. Anyway, Zordo. Fabio Wardley, that's a good fight. Fabio Wardley versus versus Daniel Dubois, major fight. I like that fight, but it's one I missed. No, not Shane Mosley Jr. versus Bobachuk, which is going to be a tough fight. That's a good fight, too. Then we got Hergovich, Jack Catterall, Amanda Serrano's comeback fight, Dimitri Bivol, Shockey versus Raymond Ford. What the fight I'm looking for? But Dalton Smith and Preo, that's it. Dalton Smith and Preo, I think that's a major fight for the 140-pound division. That fight, because it can go in so many different directions. So that fight is a major fight. And hopefully the fight that I want, Shakur versus Gary Antoine Russell. That's the fight I want. Which you will see, regardless, you'll see him back in the ring no later than probably August or September. You got Gary Antonio Russell coming up very, very soon. Within the next month, he should be in the ring. And then right after that, you have the return of Gary Russell Jr., when it's done, all I wanted for the proper flowers to be given, because he's someone that's actually training active fighters and still an active fighter. You know what I mean? And doing it at a high level. Doing all at a high level, which is amazing to me. Oh, yes. Gary Russell Jr. Hopefully his comeback fight is against Floyd Schofield Jr. Yes, Floyd Schofield Jr. Let's do it, Kid Austin. Let's do it. Let's do it. Kid Austin versus Gary Russell Jr. That's potentially in the works. There's been a lot of talk about it. They said they're looking to do it, and that's a fight. And hopefully, like for Gary Antoine in August, September, like I said, prayerfully it's Shakur or somebody, or a unification bout of some sort. But if you if you have not done so, please like and subscribe to the Let's Talk Sports Show, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch. And like I said, man, hit us up, man. We back at you soon, man. I'll be back to do another boxing talks probably around Thursday. We're going to do another boxing talks Thursday, man. But until then, we will be tapping in tomorrow. We're going to be covering the WNBA, the NBA playoffs, the CBA for the WNBA, the max contracts. Like Asia got 3 years, $5 million. AB got 6 years, $6 million. So we're gonna tap into it. I know the number not accurate, but in that ballpark. But until the next time, man, thank you for tapping in the Let's Talk Sports Show. Like again, we got content on top of content on top of content on top of content coming your way. Be blessed, man. One.